Most house-sitting jobs require you to water the plants or feed the cat. They don't usually come with a survival guide. Leo should have left the moment he read rule number 2. Cover the mirrors before sunset. But for $5,000, he decided to stay. That was his first mistake. His last mistake was opening the door. The job listing had been brief, lucrative, and, in hindsight, suspiciously vague. House sitter needed. Remote location. High pay. For Leo, a grad student drowning in tuition fees, it felt like a lifeline thrown from the heavens. $5,000 just to keep an eye on a house for a week seemed like the easiest money he would ever make. He was wrong, but he wouldn't realize just how wrong until the sun went down. The Blackwood Manor was a sprawling, neo-Gothic structure nestled deep in the hills of upstate New York, miles away from the nearest paved road. It was impressive, certainly, but it had a cold, sterile atmosphere, like a museum where nothing was allowed to be touched. Leo stood in the grand foyer, his backpack slung over one shoulder, watching the owners. Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood didn't look like a couple going on vacation. They looked like fugitives fleeing a crime scene. They were dressed in severe charcoal suits, and Mrs. Blackwood kept wringing her hands, her eyes darting nervously to the dark corners of the high ceiling. Mr. Blackwood handed Leo a single, heavy sheet of cream-colored stationery.
These are the instructions, Leo. Read them carefully. Follow them exactly.
Leo took the paper. He expected a list of chores: water the ferns, feed the cat, take out the trash.
Of course, sir. Alarm codes? Heating system?
Mr. Blackwood didn't smile. He stepped closer, invading Leo's personal space.
This isn't about maintenance. This is about structural integrity. Do not deviate.
Mrs. Blackwood stepped forward, gripping Leo's arm with surprising strength. Her hand was ice cold.
Especially the second one. The mirror in the hallway. Never forget the mirror.
They left in a hurry. Their black sedan kicked up gravel as they sped down the driveway, disappearing into the woods as if the devil himself were snapping at their heels. Leo was left alone in the silent, echoing mansion. He locked the heavy front door and looked at the list. It wasn't a chore list. It read more like a survival guide from a folklore forum. 1. Do not open the basement door between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., no matter what you hear scratching. 2. Cover the large mirror in the upstairs hallway before sunset. Do not uncover it until sunrise. 3. If the grandfather clock chimes 13 times, hide under the dining table and close your eyes. 4. Absolutely no guests. Leo laughed. He actually laughed out loud, the sound bouncing off the marble floors. It seemed ridiculous. He figured the Blackwoods were eccentric, superstitious weirdos. Or maybe they were just messing with the hired help for their own amusement.
Okay, rich people are crazy. Got it.
He crumpled the list and shoved it into his pocket. He spent the first few hours exploring. The place was a palace. But as the afternoon wore on, the silence began to feel heavy. It wasn't just quiet. It was a pressurized silence, as if the house was holding its breath. He decided he needed company. He broke rule number 4 immediately. He called his girlfriend, Tanya. She was only an hour away, and the idea of spending a week alone in this mausoleum suddenly felt oppressive. He didn't mention the list to her. He didn't want to spook her, or worse, have her think he was working for psychopaths. Tanya arrived just as the sky was turning a bruised purple. She brought pizza, wine, and a bright, chaotic energy that the house desperately needed.
Leo, this place is insane. It's like a vampire movie set. How much are they paying you again?
Enough to pay off my car. Come on, let me show you the library.
They ate, drank, and laughed. For a while, the oppressive atmosphere lifted. Leo forgot about the Blackwoods. He forgot about the basement. And fatally, he forgot about the sunset. Around 8 p.m., Tanya stood up, stretching.
I'm going to find the bathroom. I saw a huge staircase earlier. I want to see the upstairs.
Sure. Top of the stairs, first door on the left.
She ran up the grand staircase, her footsteps echoing on the wood. Leo stayed in the kitchen, opening another bottle of wine. He glanced out the window. It was pitch black outside. The sun had set an hour ago. A cold spike of adrenaline hit his stomach. He remembered the list. Rule number 2, cover the large mirror in the upstairs hallway before sunset. He hadn't done it. He hadn't covered anything.
Tanya! Tanya, wait!
Wow, Leo. This hallway is creepy. But this mirror, it's beautiful.
Leo sprinted for the stairs, the bottle of wine shattering on the kitchen floor.
Don't look at it! Tanya, get away from the mirror!
He reached the landing just in time to see her. Tanya was standing in front of a massive, gilt-framed mirror at the end of the long, dark hall. She was facing the glass, fixing her hair, smiling at her own reflection. She turned her head to look at Leo as he reached the top of the stairs.
Relax, babe. It's just an antique. What's the...
She stopped. Her eyes went wide, fixed on Leo's terrified face. But Leo wasn't looking at her. He was looking at the mirror behind her. In the glass, Tanya had turned to look at him, but her reflection was still facing forward. The reflection wasn't looking at Tanya. It was looking directly at Leo, smiling. And then, slowly, the reflection raised its hands to its own throat. Leo didn't waste breath on a warning. He lunged. He tackled Tanya hard, knocking her sideways onto the plush carpet of the landing, forcing her face away from the glass. It was a violent move, born of pure panic.
Don't look at it. Close your eyes. Do not look at the glass.
Tanya struggled beneath him, confused and winded.
Leo, get off. What the hell are you doing? You hurt me.
Leo scrambled up, keeping his body between Tanya and the mirror. He didn't look at the glass directly. He grabbed a heavy, woven tapestry from a nearby console table and threw it blindly over the massive frame. Only when the glass was completely obscured did he let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He looked at the cloth. It was hanging still, but for a second, just a second, it looked like something pushed against it from the other side.
We broke a rule. We have to be careful. Go downstairs, now.
He practically dragged her down the grand staircase. In the brightly lit kitchen, the atmosphere was different. Tanya pushed him away, rubbing her shoulder.
You're acting crazy, Leo. It's an old house. It's creepy. I get it. But you tackled me.
Leo pulled the crumpled stationery from his pocket and smoothed it out on the island counter.
Read this. Rule number 2.
Tanya read it. She let out a short, disbelief-filled laugh.
This is a joke, right? Grandfather clock, no guests. They're messing with you, Leo. It's a hazing ritual for the new guy.
I saw your reflection, Tanya. It wasn't moving with you. It was trying to strangle itself. That wasn't a trick of the light.
Tanya looked at him, about to argue, but then the house groaned. It wasn't the normal settling of timber. It was a deep, structural moan, vibrating through the floorboards like a ship taking on water. The lights in the kitchen flickered and dimmed to a brown, sickly hue. Then, from the formal dining room down the hall, the massive grandfather clock began to chime. The first stroke rang out. Leo checked his watch. It was 11:17 p.m., not the top of the hour. Another chime echoed through the house.
Count. We have to count.
Leo, stop it.
The chimes continued, and impossibly loud. They shook the silverware in the drawers. They counted past 10, past 11, past 12. The clock struck 13. The silence that followed was absolute.
Under the table. Move!
He didn't wait for her to argue. He grabbed her hand and pulled her under the heavy oak kitchen table. He forced her head down between her knees.
Leo, I'm scared. What is happening?
Rule number 3. Close your eyes. Do not open them. Whatever you hear, do not look.
They squeezed their eyes shut, huddled together in the dark beneath the table. And then the footsteps started. They weren't human footsteps. They were heavy, wet sounds on the marble floor, circling the table, repetitive and slick. Something was pacing around them, sniffing at the edge of the tablecloth. The smell hit them a moment later. It was a thick, cloying stench of stagnant water and copper, the smell of a dried-up pond. Leo felt Tanya trembling violently against him. He clamped his hand over her mouth, terrified she might scream. Something brushed against the heavy velvet of the tablecloth, inches from their faces. A low, rattling breath vibrated through the floorboards. It wasn't searching. It was savoring.
Leo, it's touching my leg.
Don't move. It's checking the rules. We're hiding. We're safe.
He prayed he was right. The wet, slapping sounds circled them one last time, then slowly, agonizingly, moved away toward the hallway. The heavy front door opened and closed with a deafening slam, though Leo had locked it. Silence returned to the house. The oppressive weight in the air lifted slightly.
Now. We leave now. Forget your shoes.
They scrambled out from under the table. The house looked normal again, but the shadows seemed sharper, deeper. Leo grabbed his car keys from the counter. They sprinted for the front door. Leo grabbed the handle and pulled. It didn't budge. He unlocked the deadbolt, turned the latch, and pulled again. It was stuck fast. He looked closer at the seam where the door met the frame. There was no seam. The wood of the door had fused with the wood of the frame. It wasn't locked. It had become a solid wall.
Leo, the windows. Try the windows.
Leo grabbed a heavy iron candlestick from the foyer table and swung it with all his might at the side window. The impact rang out like a bell. The glass didn't break. It didn't even crack. It sounded like he had hit solid steel. They were sealed in. Leo checked his watch. 1:55 a.m.
The kitchen. There's a back door in the kitchen. Maybe it's still open.
They ran back through the hallway, past the grandfather clock, which now stood silent and innocent. They burst into the kitchen. The back door was there, glass-paned, leading to the garden. Leo reached for it, but then he stopped. He looked at the digital clock on the microwave. 1:59 a.m. Directly next to the back door was another door. A plain, white, wooden door. The basement door. Leo remembered the list. Rule number 1. Do not open the basement door between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. As they stood there, frozen, the microwave clock flickered. 2 a.m. The handle of the basement door slowly turned.
Leo, someone's down there.
Back away. Don't look at it.
From the other side of the white wood, a sound began. It wasn't the scratching the note had warned about. It was worse. It was a voice. And it was Leo's voice.
Tanya? Tanya, help me! I'm trapped down here! Let me out!
Tanya's eyes went wide. She looked at the real Leo standing next to her, then at the door.
Leo, but you're right here.
That's not me. That's the house. Don't listen.
The voice behind the door shifted. It dropped an octave, becoming guttural and wet.
Open the door. We are hungry.
And then the scratching started. It sounded like dozens of hands clawing at the wood, desperate to tear through. The door frame shook violently. The wood began to splinter outward. Leo grabbed a heavy chef's knife from the counter, though he knew it would be useless against whatever was behind that door. He shoved Tanya behind the kitchen island.
Stay down. Whatever happens, don't look at it.
Leo, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
The wood of the basement door shrieked as it finally gave way. It didn't swing open. It exploded outward, sending splinters flying across the kitchen like shrapnel. But nothing walked out. Instead, the darkness from the basement spilled into the kitchen like a thick, black liquid. It pooled on the floor, swirling around the island. The temperature plummeted. The lights above them popped and showered glass onto the counters. In the sudden dark, the voice returned. It wasn't coming from the basement anymore. It was coming from everywhere.
Rule 4. No guests.
Leo swung the knife blindly at the encroaching shadows.
We're leaving! Let us out!
The contract was for 1, but the house accepts bonuses.
Leo felt a cold, wet hand grab his ankle. It was impossibly strong. He shouted and kicked, but another hand grabbed his wrist. Then another. They weren't hands of flesh. They were extensions of the house itself, shadows made solid. He looked at Tanya. She was being pulled across the floor towards the gaping maw of the basement. She was screaming, scratching at the tiles, her fingernails breaking.
Tanya, hold on!
He tried to crawl toward her, but he was being dragged in the opposite direction, toward the hallway mirror, the one he had covered. The tapestry had fallen. The glass was dark, swirling like a vortex. He realized then, with a final clarity-inducing horror, that the Blackwoods hadn't hired him to watch the house. They had hired him to feed it. They were the caretakers. He was the livestock. Tanya screamed his name one last time before she was pulled into the pitch-black darkness of the basement stairs. The sound of her voice was cut off abruptly, like a radio being unplugged. Leo was dragged to the mirror. He saw his reflection. It wasn't screaming. It was smiling. It raised a hand and waved goodbye.
No. Please!
The glass surface turned to liquid. He was pulled through. The sun rose over the Blackwood Manor at 6:15 a.m. The birds sang. The morning light hit the windows, making them sparkle. A black sedan crunched up the gravel driveway. Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood stepped out, looking refreshed and calm. They walked up the steps. Mr. Blackwood unlocked the front door. The house was immaculate. The broken glass in the kitchen was gone. The basement door was whole and painted a pristine white. The mirror in the hallway was gleaming. There was no sign of Leo, no sign of Tanya, no pizza boxes, no wine bottles. Mrs. Blackwood walked to the kitchen counter. Sitting there, neatly stacked, was the cream-colored stationery with the list of rules. Next to it was the $5,000 check Leo had never cashed. She picked up the check and tore it in half.
It feels settled, quieter.
For now. But the hunger always returns.
He pulled his phone from his pocket and opened the agency app. He began typing a new listing. House sitter needed. 1 week. $10,000. Remote location. He smiled at his wife.
Inflation, my dear. Good help is so hard to find.